speaking of trigger pull, weight, and all this, we've spent a lot of time here talking about this unique system you devised with the fire-by-wire aspects and how you're using that, or how you're protecting against unreliability or hacking of it for malicious purposes. I'm also interested in this as a novel technology, as a unique new concept in the other direction. I mean, this sort of opens up a lot of possibilities I don't think that many people have talked about, because a fire-by-wire system allows you to set the trigger weight and adjust it easily, whatever you want, presumably. And I'm interested in your thoughts on that and how you expect to see that developed down the line. Is there going to be a way to change the weight of the trigger pull when these guns get into people's hands as a feature that you offer?
It's a great question. We don't have that, the basically trigger weight adjustment in the base model right now. We actually prototyped a variety of different systems for that and never found one that met our standards from like a reliability perspective and from how it impacts the overall sort of feel of the trigger, like the take up, how crisp is the break, like what does the follow through look like, what does a reset look like? There's actually a lot of dynamics to what a high quality trigger feels like. I'm not going to claim I'm any good, but I shoot precision rifle, and the difference between like a match grade trigger and a good trigger and a bad trigger is very obvious to anybody that's shot a couple. I think the goal is we want to provide the most consistent experience we can, and introducing that variability to the trigger weight compromise that. And so we chose to back off of it as a first version. That being said, the intent here is, we're very focused, especially for now, as we're coming to market, starting to explain what our product is, how we're approaching this. The core thing we're doing is the biometrics, it's the safety, it's the stuff we've been talking about. But at the end of the day, what Biofire actually is we're a team of engineers, right? Mostly from aerospace and defense, who have come together to work on firearms and how can we make, better, safer, more modern firearms, and including exploring things that are pretty far outside of the box of the area that existing fire manufacturers have been innovating in, right? I'm not saying there hasn't been any innovation, there has, but it's been in a pretty limited mechanical sphere, right? Versus Biofire, we have the capability, we have the team, we have the engineers to both do the research and development as well as the manufacturing of much more multidisciplinary systems that include software, they include hardware, and there's a lot more we can do with that. And so I think areas that I'm excited about are, be able to provide coaching and training feedback to the user based on the sensor data that the firearm is processing in real time. Another one that we are really interested in is we've got monitoring systems that are built inside of the firearm that we're using to make sure it's always staying reliable and to detect any issues maybe before they come up. Again, just to get that extra little bit of reliability. We also can use those same systems to monitor the mechanical performance, right? So we can see every single time that the gun shoots exactly how many milliseconds it takes for the slide to go from the beginning of battery to the end of the stop and back into battery. We can see the clicks of the different little mechanical systems that are in there moving around. And you can start to see hey, the slide is starting to slow down by a few milliseconds, which probably means it's got some fouling on it, or it needs to be relubricated, or, we're seeing an additional delay in the timing between these two components, and start to provide feedback to the user, again, all via the interface in the dock, that is much more detailed and honestly earlier than even your most experienced user would be able to understand and feel that from a human reaction time perspective. So I won't go into too much more detail. There's more on our website. We've got lots of videos stuff about this, but our goal is how can we provide the best experience possible? And that is most importantly, how can we provide the best experience possible when you need to pick that firearm up in the middle of the night and make sure it works? But it also, in practice, 99% of the time people use guns is at the shooting range, right? It's not in an actual defense environment. And so as long as we've solved and we have confidence that we've solved the core use case, anything we can do to make your overall ownership experience better, whether that's providing easy access to replacement parts, service manuals, there's a lot that we hope to do to make this a really enjoyable ownership experience for all sorts of different kinds of gun owners.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think for the first run, for this first prototype gun, or not even prototype anymore, first production gun, you want to make sure that you're getting that reliability and security aspects down 100%. But, there does seem to be, with this unique system that you've developed, a lot of possibilities for that would excite more experienced shooters and hobbyists down that are potentials down the line. It's you kind of described a Mantis X being integrated into the gun, being able to adjust the weight of your trigger on the fly, or have a different profile, or have a different amount of take up compared to the break, just highly customizing the way the trigger works because it's not actually mechanically connected to the sear. And so you can do a lot more with that.
Totally.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. Or yeah, like you mentioned, the gun telling you when it needs to be cleaned, or, you know, giving you sort of a continuum of how you've performed and how the gun itself is performing. That's all extremely interesting. I know it's not in necessarily all that is necessarily in this model that's coming out, but
a lot of it will be. Like, the way we've designed this is, again, focus has been first and foremost on safety and security, right? Those are the two key pieces. This is like why somebody would buy our product. But what we've done, we've built all the hardware in, not the trigger brake adjustment piece, but pretty much everything else you just talked about. The hardware, the sensors required to run that, the processing power required to run that, it's in the gun. It's in this prototype I'm holding right here. And what that means is, you know, as like we expect actually probably have a lot of those features I just talked about available at product, like when people start taking delivery later this year. But if we don't, like over time, there are optional software updates available. And just like our approach on the internet
side. So you
can
do over-the-air updates, kind of like a Tesla approach, I guess, where Tesla will launch cars that have the hardware required for, you know, what they call full self-driving, and you have to to pay them to upgrade it to get the software. But you know, it sounds like a similar kind of concept where you have a lot of the things you'd need for some of the stuff we just talked about, but you know, and maybe you buy a gun at launch, but 6 months down the line, it's got new features.
Right.
Is the
and
idea.
Exactly. And we're hoping your experience is going to only get better over time, not like most, which like sort of degrade and they get worse. Like, how can we make your experience like incrementally better, you know, over the time that you own the firearm? And like on software updates, the way that we handle that is if you've chosen to connect the dock to the internet, then it'll download the dock automatically. But just like everything else, no software update can be applied to the gun without the owner saying, yes, I want to apply the software update. So nothing ever gets automatically updated or anything like that. And then if you don't connect the dock to the internet, we also provide an option for you to go to your computer to download the software update that's applicable for your gun, like manually to like a flash drive, plug the flash drive into the dock, and then update it via that way. And so you, again, simply, just as I said before, you can get the full experience without the internet piece, but still benefit from, you know, the latest features, the latest updates, everything like that.